Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
I'm going to call this meeting to order, and today I'm going to use the script from the League of Cities and Towns. The meeting of the Saxtons River Village Trustees will come to order. This meeting is a remote-only meeting, which means that the public body is meeting electronically only, and consistent with the temporary provisions of Act 78, there is no designated physical meeting location where the public may attend. Rick, can you reach out to Ellen? It looks like she can't get into the meeting.
Yeah, she just texted me and said she can't get in.
Okay, if you could help her. Please note that while we will strive to provide means for those attending remotely to participate in the public comment period, there may be technical difficulties or reasons that otherwise prevent or interrupt remote public participation. If a member is having difficulties, the number to call or text is 802-376-4639 or 802-591-3418. In the event of a technical difficulty, such as the public being unable to participate, if it can't be resolved, we may continue the meeting if necessary. We may continue the meeting to a date, time, and place certain. Please note that all votes taken during this meeting that are not unanimous will be done by roll call vote in accordance with the law. And as required by the open meeting law, let's start by taking a roll call attendance of all members participating, and have those members attending remotely identify themselves to ensure that they can hear and be heard throughout the meeting. Good to see you, Ellen. You're just in time for the roll call. So I'll start. I'm Amy Howlett, Chair of the Village Trustees. Next.
I'm Carl Ball, Village Clerk and Trustee.
Rick Holloway, Village Trustee.
Ellen Lawrence, Village Trustee.
Great. And Jeff, could you identify yourself? I'm not sure everybody knows you, and we're very happy to have you participate.
Well, thanks. I'm Jeff McClarty. I live in the former St. Edmund's Church. And as you can see by the background, the interior renovations are ongoing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not a screensaver?
Wonderful.
That's great. Okay, so I did have a question about public comment. Public comment is the next item on the agenda. So let me take a minute, which I should take probably every time, to explain public comment. The idea is that if you are a member of the public, or trustees, if you have heard comments from the public, this is an appropriate place to mention them. It's been the practice of this board to allow discussion on any topics at any time throughout the meeting. So if you're participating in order to, for example, discuss the Hartley Hill situation, you can save those comments for the Hartley Hill point during the agenda. But if you have general public comments, for example, it's great to see somebody shoveling the park, the village park. Great time to bring them up. So, public comment. Are there any public comments?
I have a question.
Okay.
I noticed in the press, the local press, that it's snow goose season coming up.
Okay.
I have no idea what a snow goose is, if you would like to remind me.
It's a goose. It's white.
So I know that
I don't-
Not a
Is it a-
Canada goose.
Is it a white goose?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. So the little I know is if you go across to Dead Creek in Addison County, other side of the state, in the fall, there are tons of snow geese landing and taking off there. It's amazing to see. I'm not aware if there are any on this side of the state, but I suppose Peter Bergstrom is a bird lover. He'd be a great person to ask that question of. No bird lovers here?
I love to
Okay.
eat birds.
I love to
Yep.
watch birds, but I'm not an aficionado.
Okay.
I don't really care for goose.
I'm not
I've never-
really a hunter, but I just saw it and didn't know what it was. So I'm gonna look one up on Google, I think, and so I can get at least an image in my mind.
Yeah, all right. Any other questions?
Not for me.
Okay. So next on the agenda is the MSK proposal. So the proposal has come back to us essentially unchanged. If you remember at the last meeting, on the advice of our attorney review, Chris Moore, we asked to strike the limited liability paragraph and a number of references in the proposal, which we couldn't find. The reply from MSK is that the limited liability clause is appropriate for projects like this one. So Patrick Smart, the senior engineer who has been very prompt to answer any questions or emails that I've had, reminded me that this is a preliminary study with recommendations. So he feels that the liability is completely appropriate. And he does not want to strike it. The references to paragraphs and sections in the proposal are linked to required areas of the state revolving loan program. And that's the way that we are planning to pay for this project if any recommendations come out of it. And in fact, I'm working on that loan application now. So I think we're up to the point where you can ask questions and have a discussion, and then perhaps we vote on whether to move forward. But the floor is open. Carl, do you want to recap for Jeff's purposes what the grant does? What the proposal does, just briefly?
Well, the proposal is to look at options for water supply in the village. So currently, most properties are connected to private wells. We have a number of units that are supplied by Vermont Academy water system, and a number that are supplied by the Warner Home water system. This is for drinking water. Our fire hydrants are supplied by Vermont Academy and Warner Center. We are looking at deteriorating supplies from our two suppliers, Vermont Academy and Warner Center, and they are interested in making sure that their water supply is uninterrupted. And of course, we have a vested interest in that as well. So the proposal is to have a preliminary engineering study to determine, I guess, the feasibility of various options for a water supply, which would include doing nothing, connecting to Bellows Falls, developing our own in-house water supply, making repairs or renovations or upgrades to Warner Center and to Vermont Academy, which supply us.
Thank you, Carl.
Clear enough?
Yeah, good.
Okay.
Any questions? Any further discussion? Do you agree with me that it's appropriate to vote?
Well, I'm still a little bit nervous about the liability provision. I guess if our attorney has recommended against it, I don't know. What would we be open to damages in excess of the amount that they're capped at? I mean, I can't imagine a study like this creating any liability, but you never know.
Well, that was Patrick's point. This is the standard clause they use for projects like this. It is a preliminary study. I was interested to see that these grants, the revolving loan fund, I guess it isn't, well, it looks like a grant. I mean, it's 0% interest and no payments due until 3 years in, 5 years in. I can go and look it up for you, but for a long time.
It's still a loan, not a grant.
Yeah, it is a loan, not a
We need to
grant.
keep that in-
but-
We need to keep that in mind and
Yep.
not think of it as a grant.
However, this is the lowest level of the grant. So this is the planning and studying part. And then there are 2 levels for carrying grants out. I think that's where you get into more liability. But I'm not a lawyer, but I am someone who's concerned that we let this opportunity go by. I know Vermont Academy is very eager to move this along. They have connections with Senator Leahy's office, and I hear from Chris routinely that he would like to see us go forward. But it's up to you to bring up these questions.
Chris Coda?
I'm sorry, Chris Coda is the chairman of the Vermont Academy Trustees,
Yep.
and he's been very eager. He's been following up on questions. He reached out to Harold Buckner when we were discussing how to pay a bill if one came due after submitting the grant, and he has helped us explore options for that. And we have letters in hand which share the cost between Saxtons River, Vermont Academy, and the Warner Center, should those costs arise.
I move that we approve the
MSK proposal. Okay, so is there a second to that motion?
I second it.
So Ellen, just a point of clarity, when you second a motion, it doesn't mean that you approve it. It means that you think it is solid and of importance, and that you're ready to discuss it and vote on it. It is not
Correct.
an aye vote. It is just
Correct.
moving the situation forward.
same thing with
Yeah.
making a motion.
Same thing.
You
Exactly.
can make a motion and still vote against it.
Absolutely.
Right. Oh, yeah. No, I understand that.
Okay.
I was reading and trying to answer at the same time. I was rereading Amy's email.
So it's been moved and seconded that we forward the MSK proposal. I would add to Rick's point, as written. Are there further questions and discussion? Carl, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, and now I'll take it down if I. So I just want to make sure, I don't have it open on the screen in front of me, but are there any ambiguous references left? In other words, does the text say as indicated in attachment 1, and there is no attachment 1 text?
The references which are not directly explained in the text refer to the application for the revolving loan fund. I can share that email from Patrick Smart with you. I can do that now on the screen, if that would be helpful.
No, let me clarify that. Is there a reference in the text now to any attachment that is listed as not included?
Only attachments, not anything else? Let me get the email up, because
What's the contract, so I can explain what I mean. Let me see. So there are a number of articles in the contract. I can't get it to open. I can't get my copy to open for some reason.
Okay, I'll open mine and I'll share it with you.
Okay,
And perhaps you can take us where you want to be. Hold on, this is the newest version of the contract. And now I need to share my screen. Okay, this is the contract. So is it a particular attachment that you are
no,
questioning?
I just want to make sure that there are no hanging references. If you could scroll down a page. Whoa, a page. Back up, please, to the table of contents. Okay, so the exhibits, that's what I'm thinking about. So there are a number of exhibits, and I want to make sure that there are no references in the text of the contract to an exhibit that is listed as not included. So maybe if you go down to,
Two exhibits on page 12?
yeah,
Okay.
okay, yeah.
I see what
So,
you're saying.
so I wanted to make sure that there is not in the contract, in the language of the contract, an exhibit, a reference to Exhibit D, for example, which is not used.
So they have marked the ones that are not used, not
Yeah.
used. So
Yeah.
D, E, F, G, and J are all marked not used.
Yes, and my question is, does the body of the contract refer to Exhibit F or Exhibit J, which we do not have the text of? I just want to make sure that they verified that there's nothing hanging.
So you're not satisfied with the information that it's not used?
Well, if it says someplace in the contract, see, if it refers someplace into the contract to something that's not used, I think that needs to be corrected. My recollection is that may have been an issue, and I just want to make sure that it's not.
Well, I'm going to go back to the email for a minute.
Okay.
And then I will, so this is what Patrick Smart said. Are you still, yeah, you're still seeing the screen I'm sharing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The only exhibits we found in the contract, let's see. So that was one of the questions that I asked because we pointed that out. You are correct. This is point number 2, and I don't know whether it's big enough for you to read it, so I'm going to
Yeah,
read it.
I can see it.
You are correct that exhibits A, B, C, H, and I are the only exhibits included in the exhibit. The references to other not applicable exhibits are standard contract.
Okay.
I need to move my, a standard contract language that the Vermont Drinking Water State Revolving Fund requires not be edited for projects utilizing its program.
Okay. So I am thinking about his point number 3 about the references to Exhibit H.
Yep.
They've gone through and they've corrected all the references to the exhibits. That's what I wanted to know.
Okay.
Okay.
So you're comfortable with where we are?
I guess, yeah. I mean, I haven't seen the revision, but I'll take his word for it.
I thought I forwarded this to you guys. I apologize.
No, I haven't seen it. Hasn't come to me.
It was sent to you
I didn't
on
get
on January 28th.
on the 28th.
I sent to Ellen, Matt, Rick, and Carl. Please read the email and the attachments received tonight from MSK Engineering. I propose a special meeting Tuesday, February 1st to discuss whether to proceed. So it was that email that had these, I believe, that had the attachments. Now, you know, I sometimes do say that I'm attaching things and then I don't attach them. So it's
You did.
okay, good.
Well, my apologies. I must
Do you
have-
want a few minutes to look it over now?
No,
I mean, it's a
no.
long
I'm good.
document. Okay,
It's
Well,
not.
Carl, because Carl responded to that email too. He
Yeah,
said- Because he said 8 AM doesn't work when you were trying to get a special meeting together.
yeah, but I don't recall well, okay, I just ignored the attachments, I guess. It's my
works for me.
It's my bad.
One less thing to read. Okay, so we have discussed the disagreements that we had with the initial contract. We still have the question of the liability. Carl, if that's an issue for you. I guess I'm trying to discern whether we're ready for a vote.
I move to vote. Call the motion, whatever the correct terminology is.
Yeah, Carl, are you ready? I don't like to steamroll this guy because it always comes back to bite me later, Rick.
No, I'm ready to vote, I guess.
Okay, I'm going to do it by roll call tonight since it seems like it's possible we might not be unanimous. So we have a motion and a second to proceed with the MSK proposal, the new contract language. And I believe we're ready for the vote. All in favor of proceeding with the MSK proposal, respond by saying aye. Carl
Aye.
Ball,
Nay.
Ellen Lawrence,
Yay.
that's nay.
No, I'm sorry. Yes. Sorry. I said yay. I'm
heard
having
yay.
I'm having technical difficulties. So I have my iPad, my computer, and my phone going all at the same time.
That explains your
And I'm-
technical difficulties.
I know because I can't log in. No, never mind. Sorry.
Rick
Yay.
and Amy, aye. So
Yes, you.
that is 3 against, 3 to pass, 1 against. And Carl, you've recorded that, so the motion
Recorded the
passes.
votes.
I have started the loan application. It's fairly straightforward. Does somebody want to review it before it goes in? I have been offered the services of Abby Shalou at MSK Engineering, but I would be happy to pass it by you. If you can read it promptly, I would very much like to send it in by this Friday. Is anybody interested in reviewing it? It's completely up to you.
The attorney has read it, correct?
No, this is the loan
The
application.
loan application,
Yeah. The attorney read the
the
contract proposal.
contract, okay.
This is a loan application with the State of Vermont Clean Water Drinking Fund. It's pretty routine. It includes definitions. There are numbers to call if there are questions. So I'm just methodically putting in our DUNS number and making sure that the correct form of the village name is used, you know.
Carl and
I'll-
Ellen like to read.
You'd
Yeah,
like to
I
read
think-
it?
I will.
You will, Ellen.
Yes.
Okay.
It'll be a good learning experience.
Okay, kid, you got it.
What's the amount we're applying for? Or is it not?
The total grant is $31,500. This is the grant that pays the regular invoices from MSK Engineering. At the end of the grant, we decide whether to go forward with a project or do nothing. If we go forward with a project, let's say we decide to build a concrete,
Water tower.
yeah, reservoir, not reservoir, you know what I mean, holding tank somewhere, then the cost of the preliminary study gets rolled into that, and it becomes a loan from the Clean Water Drinking Fund. We also have the possibility of paying for it with ARPA funds, and I'll talk more about that, but we discussed that quite a bit last time. And you remember that we have ARPA funds of our own, as well as a big state initiative to use ARPA funds for water projects. So that's also possible.
Amy,
Yes.
just as a quick question, did we take any official action, like vote that this was the way we were going to proceed? I know we discussed this. Did we ever have a vote on it that we would apply for this particular loan? I don't know. And
I would say by consensus, but we can,
do we need to?
well, up to you, Carl. I feel comfortable with the fact that we discussed it quite carefully, and that we came to agreement, but propose a motion.
Okay. So I guess the motion would be to move to apply for $31,500 funding from the State Revolving Loan Fund to cover the cost of the MSK preliminary study.
Perfect. Is there a second to that motion?
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded that we apply for the revolving loan program. I've just lost my Zoom link. It's driving me crazy. Not my link, but the actual Zoom. Why does this happen?
I feel your pain.
Sheepers.
It won't. I feel your pain tonight.
I'll go back to this link. I know it'll get me in. There we are. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All right, all in favor? Let's try a vote by hand first. All in favor of submitting this loan application? Show by raising your hand. So it looks like 3. Carl, what is your?
I have my hand up.
Oh, you do?
My hand
Your
doesn't.
virtual hand? Okay,
on the
so that
screen.
passes unanimously. I'm sorry, I'll lower your hand, and then I'll know next time that it is your hand. Okay, so that is the second motion, and we have a reader, and I think we're ready to move on. Are there any other questions about this water infrastructure proposal?
So Rick, you're going to read it over?
No. Oh, I didn't hear Rick.
Sorry, Ellen.
No, me.
Ellen.
Okay.
The application that Amy's working on, I am.
Yep.
Yes.
Great.
Amy,
Yes.
I'm not going to volunteer to read it over, but I'd like to see what the application looks like when you
Okay.
copy me when you send it to Ellen. I don't expect to hear back. Don't expect to hear back from me about it. I'm just curious.
I'm happy to send it to all of you. Why don't I do that just as a matter of courtesy? And if you want to save it in your box, then you've got it to refer to. I do have one question for you. The loan application asks, what is the name of this water system? And I'm a little bit at a loss. One suggestion would be to call it the Vermont Academy Water System. We could call it the Warner Center Water System. We could make up a name for it. Do you have a suggestion?
Well, I think we should not call it either Warner Center or Vermont Academy because they're both part of it.
Shall I call it the Saxtons River Water System?
Saxons River Community Water System.
Yeah, I agree with Rick.
Okay, I'm not going to vote on that. I'm going to take that as consensus unless anybody disagrees.
Make it a consortium.
Okay. Sewer bill, 37 Main Street is item 4 on the agenda.
I have another question for you.
Oh, okay, sorry. I'm moving too quickly.
I'm just curious, in the application, does it talk about public versus private entities?
Let us go to. Oh, I was going to try and share it, but I'm not seeing it. I will check into that and flag it for you,
Okay, thank you.
but I don't know the answer at this point. Carl, public versus private entities. We know that these grants are only available to municipalities.
Mhm.
I know it asks, what is the municipality? And I've put in Saxtons River, Village of Saxtons River. So to that extent, there's a delineation of the difference, but I'll be honest with you. I've begun the grant. I haven't made it all the way through yet. So, all right. Are there any further questions on number 3, the MSK proposal?
Mm-mm.
Okay, we're moving on to the sewer bill for 37 Main Street. And 37 Main Street has told me they no longer wish to discuss this. So I'm skipping that. They are not going to question their sewer bill.
Where 37 Main is,
The old Tenny hardware store. 37 Main is the building that we will be
The
discussing with
dish,
the
okay.
municipal planning grant. Yeah, the dish. Yep. And it, never mind. It's still owned by Main Street Arts.
Mhm.
Number 5, ARPA update and trustee appointment. So you remember I sent around a brief message saying I would attend the ARPA meeting, which was held this morning, to represent the board of Saxtons River. I'm happy to continue in that role, but I think the first question is, would somebody else like to be appointed to that board? We met this morning for about an hour. It was Peter Golick, Deb Wright, myself, Gary Fox, Scott Pickup. The meeting was by Zoom. People were pretty organized. So I think it's a finite commitment. Go ahead, Ellen.
I was gonna say, I can do it with you. I just didn't want to do it alone. Is that
Okay.
possible?
I can ask to, yeah, they asked for a single member. And I'm fine with being that single member. Remember that when we make it, so this is preliminary planning stuff. What are the dates? Do they look good?
Right.
Should it be in the lower theater or the upper theater? What are the advantages of one over the other? How are we going to put it out? When we come down to the difficult questions, the important questions, okay, we have 371 projects that have come up. 15 of them relate specifically to Saxtons River. That question comes back to this board to discuss. Which projects should we fund?
Right.
So that is an important role. I can ask the next time we have a meeting, I'll ask whether I can bring you along virtually or otherwise.
Yeah, because
I'd
like to learn. I've talked to Cynthia Stoddard a bunch about it. I just don't know if I could take on this like a full commitment. So if I could do a partial commitment.
So this is, again, this is admin.
Right. No, and I understand that. It's just kind of like get my feet wet, understand how this is going to proceed.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's great that you have that urge. I also look for those opportunities because I feel like this is a language I don't understand well.
Yeah,
and the more
exactly.
I hang out with other board chairs, with Scott Pickup, with Gary Fox, the more likely I am to begin getting a sense of how these projects work. Not necessarily the fact that it's ARPA, the fact that it's a financial project that's going to extend over, the implications are certainly going to be around for 20 years. So we need to know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Carl, you have your hand up.
Yeah, last meeting, Gary Fox flashed on the screen a couple of documents. One looked like a spreadsheet for the timeline for this committee.
Mhm.
And the other was a fancier, something put out by ARPA, maybe, I don't know.
Are you thinking of the one that had the little hatched area in the middle?
Yeah.
Our
Anyway,
ideal
I'm just
projects?
wondering if you had those, if you would mind passing them around.
Okay.
I would
I
be
don't-
interested in seeing that timeline. in
Okay. So the timeline is still under revision. We talked about it today to some extent. The next thing everyone will see, and I'm going to make a special point of sending it to all the board members and to you, Carl, because I think it should be distributed as to our list of people who get the agendas and the minutes. The next thing will be submit your project. And the idea is, regardless of how large or small, if you have a project that you think would be appropriate, this is the time to put it in. And obviously, there are going to be a lot of projects we don't fund with ARPA, but maybe some of them get funded with other grants or loans further down the road. So the two dates that are solid so far are, well, they're not really solid, but mid-March and mid-April are the two public informational meetings. And I have dates, but we're not sure whether it's going to be March 16th or March 17th, April 14th or April 15th. And the question is, can we do it virtually, or do we need that's a Wednesday and a Thursday. The Wednesday date could be held in the Bellows Falls Opera House. That is, Wednesdays are the day that is reserved for special movie showings or town meetings. So that's why those dates are up in the air. So trustee appointment will be, you're okay with it being me with Ellen coming along?
I'm fine.
Okay. I don't
I
know
don't-
where that voice came from.
I know.
I know where it came from. Down the hall.
Well, I saw you were wearing earphones, so I thought it couldn't possibly be you.
No, it wasn't me.
Okay, and the timeline if possible. The other question was, how can we make sure there's Saxons River involvement in this? And I think we'll definitely post something on the kiosks. I'll put it on Front Porch Forum. I'll put it in the Saxons River Facebook page. I'll give it to all of you. Is there a small logo that anyone knows that means Saxons River? The one we've been using on the website is that beautiful stylized drawing of the park, which isn't appropriate for this particular use. I looked at last year's town meeting annual report, and there's no small logo that I can find in that. Anybody know of something that means Saxons River that is?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind for me is the sign. I don't even know if it's still there anymore. When you come across the bridge, it says, "Welcome to Saxons River." Do you guys remember that sign?
Yeah. The thing I think about the most and have seen the most is as you're coming down Main Street, the Historical Society, and there's somewhere there's like a pencil or line drawing of that. It's kind of nice. But
Oh, yeah.
So it sounds like maybe I check with Louise and see if she can tell me. Okay,
Yeah.
Louise who?
Louise Loring.
I would like to
Uh,
suggest the green 25-mile-an-hour thank you sign. Just kidding.
Good one. Okay, sketch of Historical Society. Small JPEG. Welcome sign. Okay. And are there other places that you would like to see this information posted or made available where Saxons River residents, nonprofits, and businesses would be likely to see it?
Well, we should put it up on our webpage.
Okay. All right, something occurs to you, let me know. Further questions about ARPA? All right, moving on to item 6, trustee elections in 2022. So Carl reviewed the information in the bylaws, and it boils down, there are no 3-year trustees required. That was an initial finding. The board should have 4 trustees with 2-year terms, 2 of whom would be reelected each year, and 1 1-year trustee term. So at this point, I believe I am the only trustee whose term, I looked at last year's annual meeting, the only trustee's term who expires in 2023.
That's not correct. Matt Brennan also.
Oh, great,
Matt was elected to a 2-year term, as were you last year.
great. But it's not reflected, Matt's election is not reflected in the minutes?
Yeah, it's there. I found it there.
Okay,
So there should be 2 people elected to a 2-year term this year. My term expires, and either Rick's or Ellen's term, when it's refilled, should be a 2-year.
I agree.
The other should be a 1-year.
All right. So Matt and I are taken care of. Ellen, do you want to run for a 2-year term?
Sure.
And Rick, not Rick, Carl, do you want to run for a 2-year term?
What if I said no?
And
No.
we would put you down for 1 year.
No, I'll run for 2 years.
Okay. And Rick,
I'm likely going to be back on the school board. If all goes, am I muted or did I just put you
no,
in shock?
no,
Yes.
I expected you to say this. I'm waiting for you to say the magic words. I don't plan to run this year.
I expect to be on the school board and don't plan to run this year.
Okay. And we'll know that by April, right?
Yeah, we'll know that town meeting day, after town meeting day.
Okay.
You can do one of 2 things. You can either advocate for me and make sure I get on the school board, or you can advocate against me so I don't get on the school board.
So we'll have 1 slot. Nobody's come forward. So 1 slot.
I nominate
for
Jeff
1 year.
McCarty.
I think that's a
I do
great
too.
idea.
I think that's a great idea.
Well, that makes 3 of us.
I don't
Jeff,
even
is
know
that-
what a snow goose is. Come on.
Jeff, I
Yeah,
don't know what a
that's
snow
perfect.
goose is.
So I'm hoping that you've noticed that Ellen is asking lots of questions, and she
'Cause
asks questions every meeting she comes to, and it forces the rest of us to explain things, which is
Right.
golden.
Well, yeah, because I'm new to this. So I've never been involved with town government at all.
Mhm.
And we'd love to have you on board.
My only reservation is that I'm so new here. I mean, I don't even know how to buy enough firewood to get through. It's,
We'll help you.
it's
In your
Been it-
building, I don't think anybody would know how much firewood to buy.
there is that. Yeah.
Are you an official resident and an official voter in Saxons River?
Oh, yes.
Okay, those are the qualifications.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, you know, if you want to put me in.
Done.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
I didn't plan on this.
This
Jeff,
doesn't actually happen until village meeting day. I mean,
Yeah.
somebody
I
else
think-
could also be nominated.
Jeff,
Sure.
I think all 4 of us, and with the exception of Matt, are all transplants too.
Oh, good. Oh, we'll see. All right. That's cool.
Yeah, I came all the way from Brattleboro, Vernon area, so.
Oh,
I came from, well, I came from Long Island.
We know, everybody knows, Ellen. As soon as you speak, everybody knows you came from Long Island.
Oh, come on.
Okay, well, I think we've settled trustee elections very satisfactorily tonight. So let's move on to town information on Hartley Hill and Pleasant Valley. I'd like this to be a preliminary discussion, and I'm wondering if it should go to a committee. So I did as I was told by you last meeting and wrote to our town planning coordinator, Chuck Wise, and he sent back maps and plans which were done within the last 20 years. I think one of them was from 2004. So there is material. It needs to be digested and reviewed and presented. What's your pleasure about this?
Could you be a little bit clearer about what kind of material this is?
So I think Pleasant Valley is a map. The Pleasant Valley Road intersection is a map, and perhaps Hartley Hill is also. Both intersections were reviewed by a committee, but some time ago.
Okay.
And when I mentioned it to Chuck, he was not at all surprised to hear that it had come up again. I believe they didn't do anything. He had some practical suggestions like figuring out when it's busiest and having our Windham County Sheriff hang out there and, you know, give tickets or warnings when people went by, but we'd have to determine when it was busiest first. He thought that it might be time to review the signs. He pointed out that often taking away signs allows people to see the signs that are left more clearly. So it's not going to be a one and done kind of discussion. I think it's going to be something where people need to sit down, review these things, maybe go in and talk to Chuck about what is possible, and then come back with some recommendations to the board. That's my take, at least.
And this has to do with the signs that we had talked about before in terms of the speed signs, or the ones like slow down, or
this has to do with two busy, dangerous intersections.
okay.
The one at the foot of Hartley Hill and the one at the foot of Pleasant Valley Road.
Right. Well, I remember that discussion, but this one
Right.
for Pleasant Valley Road was because we have so many people that come up Pleasant Valley Road that mean to go
Yep.
on 121. Okay.
Yep.
I just want to make sure it was still the same topic I was thinking
Yep. It is the same topic.
of. Okay.
So I can send these to anybody if somebody wants to take this on. I looked briefly at the material and didn't have time to get into it any more deeply. But I would suggest that a couple people dive into it, ask questions of Chuck, and then come back to us.
Sure, I'd be willing to do that.
Okay.
Thanks,
Is
Carl.
anybody else?
I'd just be curious to look at the paperwork. Doesn't mean I want to actually do anything with it.
Okay. So I'm going to forward it to everyone with a note that Carl is heading this up. And if anyone decides they want to be part of a committee, they should talk to him.
I've already decided I'm going to put a toll barrier across in front of Hartley Hill Road.
Great.
I don't know if anybody knows this, but maybe 20 years ago, when my uncle was still living here, somebody came zipping up Westminster Street too fast and drove into the side of our house. So
Wow.
I have a vested interest in doing something about this.
Yeah. You've reminded me that Chuck said he thought that there had been a number of near misses on that curve, but no real accidents. So obviously your story disproves that, but.
Oh, this is a long time ago.
Mhm.
It's, 1980s maybe.
Mhm.
I don't remember when.
I'm not sure if it was that long ago. I think, because I kind of remember when we first moved here, hearing something about that.
Okay, so number 7 is deferred to Carl. We're up to number 8, unless there are further questions on those two intersections. Okay, number 8, the annual meeting format and date. We began to discuss this last meeting. I can give you an update on Rockingham's plans, and I can also remind you that by our bylaws, our meeting is the second Monday in April, which is April 11th. So the Secretary of State has given every municipality the authority to move the annual meeting or to change it. So Rockingham is, I got the update on this morning. Rockingham is planning an informational meeting on the night of February 28th, and then holding all questions to be decided by vote by ballot on March 1st. Everything is going to be discussed by Australian ballot. And if you read the Reformer, perhaps you remember seeing that Steve Crofter challenged that decision, but the legal opinion has come down. It's fine to proceed with Australian ballot. Crofter was concerned that the decision to proceed had not been made in an open meeting, but there is no requirement that it be made in a public meeting as opposed to by Australian ballot. So I know that we had some feedback at the last meeting from Gordon Corstange, who thought that whatever format gave us, I think he said the widest participation would be one standard we could use to measure that.
The widest?
Yeah, that the most number of people could participate in.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I also think there's something to be said for the engagement that you get when you do a face-to-face meeting, even if it is a face-to-face meeting electronically. We have an opportunity, if we want to move the meeting later, with the idea that, if we perhaps met in May, maybe we could do it with all the windows open, or even do it outside, or, something like that. It's possible as the weather gets warmer, we would have more options or fewer concerns about COVID, or we could have more.
I do like that. The ability to meet in person when it's warmer, and hopefully COVID will allow us that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Having it in May sounds like a good idea to me, my opinion, but.
So I do need to remind you that you anticipated that your terms would be over second Monday in April.
Right.
If we hold the meeting later, everyone continues serving until that meeting.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
I'm fine with that.
Maybe we can get a permit and have it in the park.
Oh.
Well, there's that little problem of electricity, but yeah.
Rick will get
Yes.
a generator for us.
That's right. And you've provided a mic before as well.
I've provided
right?
sound for the park before.
Yeah,
I can do that
yeah.
again.
So the only issue is we need to warn it ahead of time. And I believe it's a 30 or 40-day warning period. So you have to, you can't change your mind at the last minute.
Right.
Are you ready to set it now, or are you going to want to wait till the next meeting?
What do you think, guys?
I think Ella should make a motion.
If we're going to do it in April, we're going to have to warn it soon.
That's right.
And
I'd like to warn it by March 1st if we're going to have it in April.
Well, what do others feel? I mean, I like the idea of May, but what about the rest of you?
I'm a little worried about waiting on some of these things.
Mm-hmm.
And can I quantify that? What is it that I'm worried about? I don't know.
We get better turnout virtually than we do have ever
We've done really well with virtual meetings. Yeah. And we could do it. I mean, we could give people the opportunity to meet at MSA.
Most of the in-person meetings over the years, it seems like, we're calling someone to try to get one more person to show up, so we've got quorum.
Yeah. I think that electronic meetings have done well by us, and I think I would be in favor of meeting in April electronically rather than waiting until May to do it in person.
I think you've just made a motion there, Carl.
I think so
Yeah.
too.
Well, that's not a motion, that's just an opinion.
I'll make the motion that we hold our meeting at the date given by the bylaws, which is what, the second,
April 11th.
April 11th, 2022, and that it is virtual.
Okay, so we have up for grabs a motion to hold the annual meeting of the Village of Saxtons River on April 11th, electronically, 2022. So it's been moved and seconded, and we can have some more discussion. So I think we've gotten the hang now of people can watch on Fact TV. People can use the phone number that we give out. The participation seems to be pretty good. So I'm thinking electronic only isn't a bad idea. That means that our moderator has to be comfortable with that. But you're right. I mean, this gives, if we make this motion now, we have the opportunity to act on it. And I think actually there are a number of people who can moderate if Guy doesn't want to do it or Guy doesn't run. I think we have other good people in the village who'd be happy to step forward. So is there other discussion before we get to the vote?
So the motion was that this be electronic only, correct?
That was the motion.
Okay.
And that was the motion you seconded.
Yeah.
Okay, it sounds like we're ready for a vote. Let's see if we're unanimous, and then I'll do a roll call if we aren't. All those in favor of the motion of holding the annual meeting electronic only on April 11th, hold up your hand.
I have
Okay,
a virtual hand up too in case you can't.
it's unanimous. Great.
So, Madam Chair,
Yes,
I have a question for you. Assuming that we do, since we're going to do this, is there a way in Zoom to put a form up for people to sign in with their real names and whether or not they're residents and so forth, equivalent to what we would do if it were an in-person meeting?
I don't know the answer to that. Do you, Rick?
I don't do enough with Zoom to know. No.
Ellen?
I don't.
I know
Jeff?
people. I know I can ask people.
Okay. The question actually came up today about whether you could require that people, whether there was, you know how sometimes you have to submit your email and then you get a link and you click on the link and that puts you in. But that was about Google Forms. That wasn't about Zoom. And we certainly have had people who were very hard to identify. So.
And asking people to sign in the chat doesn't work very well because I do that every time. And if there's somebody that I don't identify, I send them a private message in chat. And only once or twice do I ever get an answer. So and since we do have to record all of the residents who are present and all the others who are present, I want to make sure that we're going to be able to do that.
I think it's 20 that's a quorum. Does anybody remember that number?
Yes,
Sounds like 20?
sounds right.
Okay.
Always ask the mayor, the former mayor. The honorary mayor.
I think it's in the bylaws too. Okay, so Rick, you'll investigate whether there's a way to have people enter
Yeah,
something to get
it-
into Zoom.
It looks like either you can run a report afterwards to show all the people who are logged in, but it may only give like their, you may get Ellen. Like here it
Yeah.
says an Ellen's thing, it says Ellen.
Yeah,
So I'm going to be able to need to get first and last names and, for example, Jean and Gordon, I may only see one of them on screen, but there are two of them there.
mhm,
So this may be something just that the chair has to nag people perpetually during the meeting.
okay,
But
One thing I have seen people do in other meetings is ask, and I think maybe we have done it where we ask people to enter their names into the chat.
yeah,
yeah, we've done that routinely, but do they?
Yeah.
Some do, some don't.
Yeah.
And
There might be a way when you're admitting people into the room that you can verify who, maybe we can get them to do something there.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Into it.
Yeah, I see something about taking attendance.
Yeah, a lot of that is for universities and schools that I was just reviewing, and it says you can run a
you are.
report, but
Yeah.
Amy can look later tonight or tomorrow, or she can run a report on this meeting and see what it shows.
Okay.
What it shows people who are there, just to get an idea of what that report looks like.
Good
Okay.
plan.
It says it's only, so I put one link in the chat that talks about it. It says it's not available until 30 minutes after the meeting or the class.
Okay. How to take attendance in Zoom. Great. Thank you, Rick. I will quickly paste that into a new document so I have it.
And that was just one. There's all different
Yep.
Several universities and schools have their guidelines on how to do it, and they almost all say the easiest way is to run an attendance report 30 minutes
Okay.
after the meeting.
Yep. Perfect. Okay. All right, have we beaten this horse quite enough? Are we ready to move on? Just as a point of information, I have sent out requests for reports so that we will be doing an annual report. I'm going to try and put together a warrant for all of us to sign, the official list of what we're going to cover. That needs to happen probably we need a February meeting to firm that up. So we'll talk about that in a minute or two. Any other discussion about town meeting? Okay. Number 9, treasurer electronic payments. This is just reassurance. I passed the word to Sarah Campbell that the board was very eager to give her that capability, but not to pressure her. And she said she's longing to do electronic payments. So.
Oh, okay, because I hadn't heard back from her. So I'm glad you were able to connect.
Yep.
Do you, should I reach out to her again?
You can. I get the feeling that she's pretty busy. I've been trying to get in touch with her, and typically it works well right after the meeting when she knows I'm going to be calling, and in between kind of depends what's going on in her life. So,
Okay.
all right, great. Okay, committee reports and updates. Fire station.
Nothing.
Okay. Wastewater treatment plant.
nothing.
Okay. Planning grant for 37 Main. So this will be just a brief report to update you. Betsy Thurston, who works for the town of Rockingham now, compiled the RFP for the planning consultant. I reviewed it. It looks good. We're hoping for 3 to 5 candidates. And then the small committee, which is Scott Pickup, Rick Cowan, who is the president of Main Street Arts, Gary Fox, who is the Development Director for Rockingham, and I will plan to review those candidates, and then we'll move forward with the next steps. Questions? Okay, minutes for approval from January 24th, 2022. What have you got to say for yourself, Carl?
There's a correction on the spelling of a name in there, which Amy has sent to me.
Camoin Associates?
Camoin Associates, yes.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
we're good?
so I move approving the minutes as corrected.
Is there a second to that motion?
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of January 24th as corrected. All in favor, hold up your hand. It's unanimous. Great. Okay, warrants and bills for approval. I'm going to share my screen. Can you all see that?
You mean you didn't send it out, right?
No, I did not.
Okay. Okay.
Hold
I
on.
just-
Can you see it?
Nope.
No. Okay, so the share didn't go through. Share screen. Warrant. One more share button. How about now?
Yeah.
You can see it? Okay. So the first two items, I suppose I could have separated, but they came to me a little late, so I just included them in the warrant. Oh, let me address Ellen's implied question. Ellen, typically I'm checking the email, the post office routinely, but inevitably Art Smith Saturday morning says to me, oh, there are 3 more bills, and so I've just given up.
That's fine. Well, I just wanted to make sure that I hadn't overlooked it.
No, you haven't overlooked it. So I've gone to Louise's practice, which was, I try to put it together during the 2-week period, and inevitably there's some big things at the end, and so I end up doing it. So so Sarah Campbell gave me 2 things. She called me, I think, last week. So she would very much like to have approved QuickBooks, which is $450 in the first year, and an upgrade, which I believe an upgrade annually, which I believe she told me is $350. I'm not sure upgrade is the right word, but it's a license. It's an annual license, and you pay a fee. You pay a steep fee the first year, and then you pay the $350 in each additional year. She is using the laptop that Alex had been using. It's a 2014 model, and it takes 20 minutes to turn on. After you turn it on, you have to close all of the requests to update, because she knows from experience that if you try to update a computer that's that old, it's too challenging. So she would like us to approve about $1,000 for equipment for the town treasurer / tax collector.
So I have a
Discussion
question.
of that? Go ahead.
Yeah. So periodically, the question of the accounting, QuickBooks has come up, and Alex has mentioned a time or two the new software that is coming from someone statewide for taxes, and I don't remember the name of it. But somewhere there's going to be a more uniform system to be adopted. And I'm just wondering if we're still waiting for that. Does anybody else remember this?
I vaguely do.
I don't remember the name of this system.
So are we talking about NEMRIC?
Yeah.
NEMRIC is the municipal payment software, so I'm sure Rockingham has that.
They do.
But and Cynthia Stoddard makes her living because of NEMRIC.
Mhm.
but my assumption was that it was way more powerful than what we needed. What Sarah needs is a basic system that will allow her to create bills without transferring information from one piece of software to another.
Mhm. I mean, I definitely think that a computer upgrade is warranted.
Yeah.
The only question I have is, should we check in with Nemrick and see if it's something that, well, but then Sarah would be out of a job, so I don't know if she, I don't think that she'd use the software. Maybe she would.
Yeah, so I don't know, I feel a little funny saying this, but Sarah takes these accounts pretty personally.
Okay.
You know, she sort of, I have the feeling that she keeps track of who has a college student and they really shouldn't have a lien on their house because of the college
Aw.
student. Who is sloughing off our information for the third year in a row and really needs to have that lien shoved in their face. So I'm not sure Nemrick would do that for us. And it's up to you whether you think that's a good idea or a bad idea. Maybe, you know, this is the kind of thing that, you know, you favor the well-off and you shaft the poor year after year after year. But
I know when the state supplied software for the school district, it went to heck in a handbasket, as they say, and was just crazy. I think for what we're doing, and the QuickBooks would be a fine option for Sarah to use. I know that, you know, we just approved it for Parks Place.
Oh yeah,
I've
that's
used
true.
it. I've used it myself. It's, you know, it's straightforward. It's easy. It's better than, you know, we could get we can get much better reporting out of it than we can out of these spreadsheets. And I have no problem.
yeah, and you're right, Parks Place, the Parks Place treasurer, this is for Carl and Jeff's benefit, is Cynthia Stoddard, who works for Nemrick. So it was on her recommendation that Parks Place, the nonprofit in Bellows Falls, bought QuickBooks.
Oh, then that's right, she did. So I'm good with pursuing this. And then,
Okay,
I'm fine too, as long as we're not going to have to change at some point or find that it's incompatible. I'm fine.
well, no promises with that, Carl. I mean, you know, that's life in the tech fast lane, but
Sure, no, it's just that we've talked about this off and on again and again, and I'm happy to go ahead and do something. And I have no problem with updating a 2014 computer.
okay.
I think the biggest concern in what Carl is saying from my perspective is just if the state came down and said we had to use this program, that we would change. Otherwise, you know, the annual license fee for QuickBooks is, you know, updates to the most current version, et cetera, but we do need to make sure that we have a laptop that will actually run the software and keep up with the updates.
Yeah.
and that's fine. And does she want a laptop or a desktop?
I think she wanted a laptop. And
Okay.
remember that, I mean, she's agreed to run again this year for town treasurer, tax collector, but it is a somewhat portable job. So I think that's why it's been on a laptop.
I think you should add $100 in there to get her a decent external backup hard drive.
You want me to make it 650 and add a back drive?
Oh, I thought we had discussed 1,000, or is that what she had asked for?
So
Well,
450 and 550 comes to 1,000.
Oh, I see.
I
Okay.
separated it up.
Why don't we approve this and then just somebody follow up with her sometime to see how she's backing up all the records and everything, and make sure that, and depending on where she's buying the laptop, make sure that everything does get transferred and backed up and doesn't fall into the,
Yep. Okay, I've added a note. I think the rest is fairly straightforward. I haven't seen this Vermont revolving loan fund, so I put it in red. Carl, I wonder if that is a wastewater treatment plant loan. It's from People's Bank, and there are numbers to call, and I just haven't gotten around to it. Does that ring a bell with you? $3,450?
No, it does not.
Okay, I will follow up on that, but I would like, since it's due March 1st, I would like your approval tonight, and I promise I will follow up before I pass it along to Sarah Campbell to pay. The Sydney services, those big items at the end, Saxons River Fire Department, those are long overdue maintenance and inspection costs for our two big fire engines, tanker number 1 and engine number 2. I believe they haven't been updated for 2 or 3 years, probably partly because of COVID, but that fire department, they try to run things on a very lean budget. And the total is $16,829.76. Do I hear a motion? Are there further questions?
I move that we approve the warrant in the amount of $16,829.76.
I second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the warrant in the amount of $16,829.76. I'm going to stop the screen share. All in favor, please signify with a hand. And we're good, unanimous. Okay, other business. So a report for you on the matter of the Athens increased fire protection service. I sent a formal letter by email to David Bemis, who is the chair of the Athens Select Board, and he replied very promptly that their budget has already been printed with $5,000, our old figure, as the amount for the Saxtons River fire protection. So he will discuss our increase with the select board, but he reminded me that the fire agreement stipulates that changes like this be made the fall before the change is passed. So I think that's as good as we're going to get, guys. I apologize for not bringing this up in the fall. Certainly, if we don't get the increase this year, we'll have to look at it and get it next year. But at least they know the figure we're thinking of is 7,500, and we'll see what they say. So that's just point of information. No motions needed. Matt had asked that we review the agreement and maybe change it, but the agreement with Athens does say that if costs go up, we can ask to increase the fee for coverage. So I think that's not an issue at this point. Other business, anybody else?
Mm-mm.
Okay,
Amy,
yes.
can I get a copy of that agreement? I put agreements like this or links to them up on the website. So if I can get a copy.
Yeah,
of that.
I'm not wild about having it up on the website unless you persuade me. Sometimes less is more. But it's a valid request. Anybody else want to weigh in on this? Is it better to have more documentation up here? I think it's like a 3-page agreement from 1994. I would scan it and send it to you.
is the sheriff's one up there?
Yeah, I believe so.
let's confirm the sheriff's one is up there, and then I would consider this one.
All right,
Let's get a list for the next meeting. Let's have a list of what documents are there and what documents shouldn't be there. Or what, see if we can come to some consensus, or at least where digitally do we want to keep these things so that at least the trustees all have access to them. Is there?
Yep.
So
Yeah,
that
most
Amy
of
doesn't
these
have to
things.
dig through
Well,
Louise's.
sometimes it's easier to dig through, and a lot of these things are unsearchable PDFs. The bylaws, for example, it's clearly a scan. There's no way to, search for it with a computer search. So,
We just need to educate you on how to do that. Once we get it scanned and in, there's ways to do that.
yeah, well, it's kind of an interesting image, the bylaws. I mean,
Yeah.
it's also scanned at an angle. I don't know. I'll take
That's
your
why.
word for it.
That's why a long-term project might be too good to like update all of those contracts and bring them into the 20th century at least,
Yeah.
instead of
That's
Louise's
kind of
grandfather's
the
original
way.
docs.
Is
Yeah.
on the webpage, so.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm sorry, the scan of the bylaws is up on the webpage, so.
Good. Yeah, I
You
would
know,
think that one's
well,
important. Okay, so I can scan it and send it to everyone. And then we can have it ready to go. If we decide that. So who's going to put together a list of, I don't want to volunteer to do this. My plate is full, but I have filing drawers here that are full of documents. So in all, it's probably one filing drawer. It's not a ton that I go in and out of routinely.
Well, I can send everybody a list of what's already up there. There's only.
Or we can go and look. I mean, that's
or,
easy.
Or you can go and
Yeah.
look. I mean,
Why don't we continue discussing it as things come up? So next, I'll send this one out to everybody, and next time we meet, we'll discuss this one.
So
Sound good?
maybe another thing we can discuss at some point is, do we have a village college student that could be an intern to take that box of stuff that you have, scan it, document it, name it the right way, put it in the right format so that it is easy to search.
Yeah, and actually, I do believe Amy had asked me about that before. So I don't know if that is still, I think that's something that I have not done yet.
Bad,
I
Ellen.
remember, I know, I apologize. So if
We're all
I take
busy
full
people.
responsibility. So Amy, I can still come over. It's up to you guys, whatever you want to do. I can still handle that and I can jump on it.
So let's think about this idea of a college intern. I think that's a good one. Typically, what's done? Is there a stipend, Rick?
It depends. I mean, we could offer some sort of a stipend for them to get them paid. It could be, I don't know if there's, we could also talk to River Valley Tech Center and see if it's a project that some of their technology students might be interested in taking on. I don't know that there's really anything in there that's like super confidential that if some kid read, it's going to be a problem, but
Or even a VA student.
yeah, I don't know if I know that the River Valley Tech Center, we all send
Mhm.
kids there, and they
Yep.
do have a tech program that would, be good for this type of thing. And there might even be, there might even be a village student there that would be a good project for them.
That sounds great.
Or maybe even a high school senior that's as a college, as a senior project, or
Yeah.
I don't know,
That's a great idea.
the scouts. Maybe there's some kid that would do it as part of their, I don't know what badges they get or need, but I think there's lots of options to get some youth interested in public service and small local government.
Do you want to come back with a fleshed out proposal at the next meeting? We've got to
Sure.
get the most out of you before you leave us for the school board.
Sure. Well, Priscilla
Right.
might beat me.
Priscilla might beat you. That's true. That's true. Yeah, well, we've already got Jeff, so you're yesterday's meatloaf as far as we're concerned. Of course, yesterday's meatloaf is always pretty good. All right, any other business? Next up, the next meeting is scheduled for February 21st. With March 1st as the deadline for our agenda for the town meeting, we really have to put that in place. I would like to have at least a brief meeting in February. Maybe try and keep anything we can, we push towards March, but at least a brief meeting to do the warrant and the regular warrant, the budget. And we also need to get to put together the town budget. Do you have a feeling for when that happens, Carl? Do we do that? We do that at a meeting, don't we?
We do that in a meeting. I'd have to go back through the minutes to see when it was done.
That's going to be, I mean, that takes some discussion typically.
Yeah, it seems to me that we should be doing that in March too. We should be doing that pretty soon too, setting the budget.
I would think it'd have to be set by March 1st so we can wave it around before town meeting. Maybe it's just the warning that's 30 days ahead. Hold on, I have the bylaws here. It may be that seems like there's a specific number of days that we need to have people be able to see this stuff.
The report is usually needs to be out by some number of days before the meeting.
Well, I've already been told by the listers that they're not, or the auditors, that they're not going to be ready till the end of March. And they said Louise was fine with that. So I think she just worked on a very close deadline. Yeah, it's not in this, so it must be in the, it's not in the bylaws. So I think it must be on the website, League of Cities and Towns website.
Okay, so I'm looking at last year.
Uh-huh.
We had a budget workshop on March 8th, at the March 8th trustees meeting.
Okay.
General budget and wastewater treatment plant budget. So that's coming up quick.
Yep. And typically, wouldn't that be, so we'd have to maybe get Sarah and someone to put those figures together ahead of time?
Mm.
I mean, it seems to me there are always a couple that are up for grabs, but for example,
There's a worksheet which I can dig out. I'm not exactly sure where I've got it, but I'll send that worksheet around.
okay,
How's that?
that's great. So the first, let's see, the first Tuesday in March is the 7th. I think I would like a brief meeting on the 21st of February, which is a holiday, so overrule me, folks, if you want to.
No, I'm fine with it.
I am too. I'll be around.
Okay, so next meeting, February 21st. That's 3 of us, so we're good for quorum. And what else do we have to do? And March 8th for the general budget and wastewater budget. Is
Well,
anybody interested in working on that ahead? I'll
March
talk to
8th
Sarah.
March 8th was a regular meeting
Yeah,
last year.
Yep.
I'm not sure that this is something that I'm not sure that Alex was involved with the general budget.
okay,
We'll have to see. And I think we got figures for the wastewater treatment plant from Rob.
okay.
I will volunteer to get in touch with Rob about that.
Okay. He's on the email that I sent out, which included, please send me your report for 2021 and let me know if you are anticipating budget adjustments coming forward. So that's when I heard immediately from Art Smith, yes, I'm going to need this and this. So I'll have those ready. But if you want to reach out to Rob, that would be great.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next meeting will be March 7th. I'm sorry, the next meeting will be February 21st and then March 7th. What do you want covered in the meeting for the 21st? Is there anything special to cover on the meeting for the 21st? We're going to try and deal with the intersections then.
Yes.
I'll have an update for you on ARPA and hopefully the municipal planning grant. We might, it's a little early to hear about the revolving loan fund drinking water. I think that's typically a month to turn around those grants. But anticipate that. Okay, and then the March 7th meeting will be the general budget meeting and anything else that comes up as we race towards April 11th. Anything else? Any items? Be thinking for our March meeting, maybe even by our February 21st meeting, if there are items you want to address at the March 31st joint board meeting. So Jeff, this is a meeting that Saxtons River has joined recently. The Village of Bellows Falls and the town of Rockingham and the Village of Saxtons River have a meeting typically 4 times a year when there are 5, I think it's Tuesdays, but I might be wrong on that. 5 Tuesdays in a month. Then the 5th Tuesday becomes the joint meeting when all 3 boards get together. So this might be a time, for example, when you would discuss the cannabis ordinance or whether to have mandated mask wearing in every business covered in the town. I mean, we are all town of Rockingham, but we all have slightly different flavors. So we will be at the March 31st meeting. And I think maybe by the February 21st, if you have agenda items, we should submit them then. And also, I will remind them that we would like to be seated at the table and have our name on the agenda heading.
I'd like name cards.
Okay. So that'll be February 21st meeting items. Executive session if necessary. I haven't heard anything. Anybody holding back?
No,
And I think we're ready for a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Okay with me? Everybody
I
else?
second.
Thanks for agreeing to run, Jeff. That's great news.